We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them on the landing ground.
Holy shit, that was awful. Forget what I just did. Let's just do the review. Darkest Hour is directed by Joe Wright and stars Gary Oldman, and this of course is the story of Winston Churchill. More specifically, it takes place during his time in 1940, from when he took over as Prime Minister from Neville Chamberlain. It goes on from 3 specific speeches in his life when he took over from Neville Chamberlain, and then goes all the way through up to his Fight Them on the Beaches speech, and it just goes through all the turmoils that he had with his own party and trying to win the war. Now, just like everybody else, I saw that picture that they released of Gary Oldman as Churchill. You wouldn't even think Gary Oldman could be Winston Churchill, but there he was. It looked incredible. As soon as I saw that, and many people I knew saw it, we were all buzzing to go. I was so excited to see Darkest Hour. Now, I know a little bit of history about Winston Churchill. I'm not a historian, I don't know a lot, but I have some friends and family that do. They've helped me out with this one so I don't look like a damned fool on camera. Let's be honest now, that's not exactly difficult, is it? I'm an idiot most of the time. Knob. Now, if I'm honest, I saw this movie 2 days ago, but I have not stopped thinking about it since. It's the longest I've ever sat there and mulled over a movie. It took me a long time to really think about my score and what I was going to say about it, but I think I've got it down. And now that I've thought about it, I do have a few issues with Darkest Hour. I loved the movie, but the things that are wrong for me in this movie boil down to tone and historical accuracy. The tone for this movie for me can be so goddamn slow. I mean, like Flash in Zootropolis slow, like that slow. And that can sometimes work for dramatic effect. In my last review for The Commuter, it worked in certain places. In this movie it does happen as well, but I think way too often. There was also some scenes that really stuck out for me. There's a scene where Winston is on an underground train in London. I understand what the point was. He was trying to talk to the people to get their opinion on what they thought they should do in this instance. Obviously no spoilers. So he was down there doing it, and I got it. I was understanding it. I was like, okay, this is cool. He's down to earth as everybody else. Then it kept on happening for sort of 6-7 minutes. And it sort of lost all of its weight. And when you're in a film that sort of relies on weight like it does, it's the biggest thing to happen in British history, and I was sitting there thinking, can we just move on because something else has to happen? It just really killed the movie dead, and that train thing was completely wrong. Speaking of inaccuracy, hey, segue, there was a few scenes like the one on the train that were just completely inaccurate. I'm not going to give them away, but things like that, when you're in a film that is so entrenched in a certain part of Churchill's life, you don't really think they can take much artistic license with it, yet strangely they do. He wasn't on the train, he never did that kind of thing on the underground. There's a lot of things with his wife involved in this that never actually happened. Things with his secretary. I'm not going to give them all away. I think you should look them up, but they don't happen. And when you know that, and when you sit down and think, okay, they've got the opportunity here to get this thing right, not something you can really get wrong, yet they put that in. It's a disappointment more than a gripe with the film, because you think they'd have the confidence to sort of just do it. It's not a film full of action, that's the point. It's a political film about an extraordinary man who did extraordinary things with a lot of weight on his shoulders. They're not the biggest things in the world, don't get me wrong, but if you know about them, they stick out like a sore thumb. That's my point. Now, don't get me wrong, I think I'm done now with the bad stuff, because you cannot deny the transformation and the amazing acting, of course, of Gary Oldman. It's Gary fucking Oldman, he can't really get it wrong. but yet again he's knocked it out of the park. Looks like Churchill, sounds like Churchill, and fucking nails it as Churchill. I can see now why he got the Golden Globe for this movie not that long ago. He worked super hard. It's now common knowledge that he worked super hard looking through news articles and listening to speeches of the man to get it on point. And you can totally see all of the work paid off. It was so good, so worth it. Had me on the edge of my seat the whole time he was on screen. It was incredible. It really was. Also the fact that it shows Churchill's burden so well, and I say that because I think they do it so well visually and with the sound. Now I know that sounds odd, but I noticed it really early on through like the first time they did it. They use echo really well. There's a part where he's just trying to get some planes brought over to the Canadian border for him, and it doesn't quite go his way. And when he's walking out of this room, it's just a big clunk, clunk. It really reverberates and everything sort of becomes very isolated. It feels like you're in his brain. He's very good at showing you that he was stuck. Neville Chamberlain left him in a terrible position. The Americans were not in the war yet. He had to get 300,000 men off the beaches of Dunkirk. He had to stop Hitler from getting over the French border into English seas. He had so much to do. He had a political party that were not backed behind him. Everything was against Winston Churchill, and you can really feel that. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat at certain points wondering what was going to happen. I know what happened. We won the bloody war. I know that. But at the same time, you're still sitting there thinking, oh God, oh, what's going to happen next? I know what happens. But when a movie can do that and make you still think, just through visually and audibly showing you like these amazing ways of doing it, I can't really fault that kind of thing, that they did it so cleverly. Joe Wright knew how to portray absolute fear in a man that exuded confidence in a lot of his life. Now this is the bit I've struggled with, guys. This is why I've been thinking about this movie for 2 or 3 days straight, but I think I've got it. I'm going to give Darkest Hour a 3.5 out of 5. I was going to give it more. I think you can tell that by the way I'm talking about it. But I really had to sit and think about it. I really do think you will love this movie if you like your history. I really do think it is for a certain demographic. If you're going to go and see it because you're a Gary Oldman fan, I don't really think that's the point. Very much that demographic. I would give it that proviso that it's probably higher if you're into your history and your Churchill and you really appreciate what he did. I'm looking at it at a regular basis. I really do think I've done the right thing. History fan love it. Not so much, then yeah. So there you have it, guys. There is my take on Darkest Hour. Now if you have seen the movie, then please comment down below. I'd love to know, as always. And don't forget before you go to press the old subscribe button. Go on all the socials. You'll know the drill by now. And
I'll see you all on the next video.